Hello, welcome to another video on the channel. We do have a video about phones, mobile phones. I do love them, and pretty much the whole world now has one of those. It's a time for me to look into getting a new one. I already have like five active ones that I use, but I'm always looking for phones. I do change those, I do sell those. So I do, as part of my job, use them and trade, sell them. So I need to be into, not need to, but I should have some trend following or just to follow the market, have some knowledge about them with the new stuff. So for this video, we're gonna look together into my local market here. This is a website here, Big Bang, but there's quite a few websites that sell mobile phones, and prices are pretty much similar in all of those. This is one of the cheaper ones that has pretty wide offer of phones on from cheapest one to the most expensive ones. There's hundreds of phones. We'll look into those. That's pretty much the video here. And since I'm in Serbia, you'll notice the prices here on RSD in red here. So translation in USD is 100 Serbian dinars is $1. There we go. So yeah, that's a conversion rate. Let's say 100 dinars is $1. So what that means is here if you see 10,107, that's pretty much 101 USD price for this one. So you can follow the prices here as we're gonna scroll this list on this website and see what's offered and at what price, just to have a look at the wide market of these devices. Before we begin, type in the chat which phone you use, which is your favorite phone, and which phone you would like to have, and then we're gonna look at this thing. All right, so first of all, we do have a few phones at the start listed pretty much in the wide range of prices. Something the most search for, I guess. I'm gonna actually put in translate. Let's translate the whole page in English. No, not like that. Translate. There we go. So highlights from the offer. These are highlighted items, something that people search more on the sites, I guess. So let's see what they have here. Vico or Vico, I'm not sure what brand it is. It's not familiar to me. I usually skip those that I'm not familiar with. I don't actually look much, but I guess for the I put a little bit time just to look at the base in terms of specs and stuff like that, just to see what kind of stuff they're offering. But I usually avoid, if I'm purchasing for myself, not going for those. But I guess people look for those because I guess 100 euros or $100 here, that's a really popular price in Serbia for phones, especially the lowest end on these smartphones. So I guess it's a popular one. 3 RAM, I guess, 32 memory, I guess. Android 11. All right. Then we get these kind of phones that are not like Android or not a smartphone. I don't actually look much. I mean, 15 euros or $15, sorry, for a price. I mean, that's pretty low, right? If you need a phone, that kind of stuff, yeah, you can get pretty cheap phones, and some of those are really good quality. So, and if you get in a very low price, you don't even care when you carry them, especially you have like a prepaid phone or something like that. you don't care at all. Pretty much you go without even caring a single bit about about the device you have. But not something I look for. There's a 115 Motorola 6/128 gigabytes. That's pretty nice spec, I guess. If you look at the surface level, just not got into like what kind of processor and stuff like that. And Motorola is like a big brand, right? So those kind of things I would like. And Motorola is one of the kings of the low budget here in Serbia. And it's been like that for many years. And Moto G lineup G32 here, that's like their biggest, the most popular phone, I guess. Again, we get these phones. I'm not gonna look at these actually. I don't care about non-smartphones. So let's look at other stuff like iPhone 15. I'm not a fan of iPhone, especially because of the price, and especially of the operating system. I'm very much like Google centered, and I use Google stuff quite a lot, and I like how they connect with Android. I'm not saying that with Apple you cannot have that, but it's a different environment. Just totally something that I don't prefer. I just love Android. I learned to use it, and it's just something I don't think there's need to look for something different, just because I pretty much grew that with that, and I'm so familiar with it. So Apple, damn that price. I don't see how it's justified and why people like them so much, or why they have such a huge price. But there you go. And even like Samsung Galaxy, I guess they made them to be a rival for iPhones, newest iPhones and stuff like that, to be like a top of the range. But I don't see the point. I had Samsung S line phones. Just get a few, some S7, S8, S10 I have. And the problem is this screen. It's easy to damage. It always cracks, and when you have a little crack, it's just out, right? And high heat, you're just gonna destroy it. So I'm not a fan of it, although they advertise that as a plus, like crisp screen. But in real environment, where especially for me, where I carry it and I scratch it and throw my bag, and so much abuse on the phone, I cannot really afford to carry an S or real expensive phone and change, especially when it's not a rugged phone. Although they advertise it's pretty tough, but not a rugged device. $727. That's really high price for me. I'm not even gonna spend time into like thinking about the specs of that. I don't care. Motorola Edge, like Motorola is pretty much the budget king, but some mid-range. Although for me, I think the mid-range price would be like 200 to 300 euros or dollars, but 400 plus would be premium. And a lot of people who look at these devices and review them make just a linear cut of the low or the budget price, like up to $200, then the some mid-range phone from 200 to like 600, and then 600 plus is like a premium. For me, it's much lower for the mid-range, and Motorola is probably going to be something. I mean, this 447 for Motorola Edge, it's not going to be in mid-range, but for many people would be. I don't see the appeal. Maybe in the past, like mid 2010s, like 2015, 2016, probably mid-range phones were uh, something that you would look more than now. Now I think budget phones are kings because they're so nice. I did use quite a few of them, and you cannot beat them in terms of value because they're usable. They're usable. Quality is much improved. It's pretty good quality, and plus you have all the software that you can run. That's if you change a phone like every 2-3 years, like I do, like a main phone especially, that it's going to return value really well. Sorry. All right. So for the value, you cannot beat budget, like the low cost for the phone. If it can run the software, you can run the latest application if it doesn't have a lot of bugs. Especially the speed doesn't matter anymore. If it runs and doesn't bug, it doesn't freeze, it crash. If it doesn't do that, then I don't care about how quickly it opens a page or how quickly if it's gonna run like 8K video. I don't care about that. I'm gonna watch video in like full HD. Even in HD, I can live on a phone to watch. So this like $288, that kind of stuff would be like the top that I would consider if it's really something insanely good, right? 8/256. I don't see that as a really great point. I would say if it supports higher capacity SD card, that's more something that I would consider for a price increase than something like between I don't know 64 gigabytes to 256 gigabytes. I don't really care about that. I know it's a lot more capacity, but to me, 64 is just enough, right? But Motorola again, as you can see, they're dominating the market. In these highlights, they're probably phones that are searched. So as you can see, Motorola, as I said, is pretty much the king here, especially for the lower budget phones. But I guess people look for these higher ones. I doubt that they buy those that much. So Xiaomi at the end, Redmi Note. I see a lot of ads, but I think Xiaomi, good quality. They're on the pricier end, like something that rivals them, like Motorola Edge is like 50 euros less, so or $50 less cheaper. So I don't know. Xiaomi has also pretty budget phones, pretty good offer in that. So okay, that's like the most searched phones. Samsung Galaxy X Cover. I mean, it's expensive. That's why I'm not gonna look at it. But let's look at the phones from the cheapest ones in the market and go towards the most expensive ones. There's quite a lot of phones. I hope this video doesn't last super long, but we're already in 14 minutes or so. All right. So these ones, there's an outlet phone for like $13. I don't really care, but you can get a cheap phone for very little money. And back like early 2000s, these phones would be like the something that everybody had. Like everybody was looking for these kind of phones. They were like 100 euros phones, right? And especially Nokia phones. So these were kings of the world back then. And a lot of people still use them if they don't care about apps. Like if you make messages and calls, this is all you need, right? This will do. But I think I'm not even gonna look at those. For me, I don't care. Some of them have like a good camera, but I doubt it's gonna rival any even the budget smartphone. One thing that I would say these cheaper phones are great is because they're rugged, right? You can go you don't have to care about them, and usually they're much tougher, especially if they have like a rugged build, like iPro Shark. It's probably a rugged phone. That kind of stuff makes sense if you're a mountaineer or something like that. Maybe they have a range ampli amplification or something like that for signal. but I still am not gonna look at those. So if you're an enthusiast for those, if you use them, I mean, I don't have any advice for that. I never had experience. I did sell a few of those Land Rover phones that are rugged on my store, but I never used them or have any experience. There's Nokia's, as you can see. There's still some Nokia phones, but yeah, that's nostalgia. There's a lot of people who still live in that age of phones, just kind of used to that, to have those on the move, especially in the area with high crime. Like, unfortunately, where there's a lot of theft phones, you gotta think of uh, of that, right? When you carry some device, how expensive it is when you got it. So when you lose it, you cannot retrieve it or something like that. How much did you lose, right? But anyway, let's see here. This is one when I was looking in all the way on the right side. So I'm gonna open the page for Xiaomi Redmi A5. As I said, Xiaomi is one of the phones that is actually more expensive, but here we can see it's like 75 euros or dollars for this phone. I think it's a good deal. 3 gigabytes of RAM, it's plenty. I did live like from around 2005 to 2020 with, sorry, 2015 to 2020 with a phone that had like 2 gigabytes of RAM, and it ran pretty smooth. With 3 gigabytes, I think it will be much better. But of course, apps now ask for a little more hardware capacity, but it depends, of course, what you use. What actually matters more is what kind of operating system it will support, like what version. And you can see here Android 15. That's not too bad. That's actually pretty good. Android 15 is what I'm looking for. Like, if it has like Android 14, I'd say it's pretty good, because I see a lot of, especially in the budget end, like the low cost, a lot of Android 14 phones. But 15, that's great. So I like it. And one other thing is it does have dual SIM. I used to use two two SIM cards in one phone, but I actually decided, like, especially because of the apps, sometimes I use some apps that you cannot use as a dual SIM. So I had to just get another phone for another SIM card. So dual SIM, it's nice to have, but I used to like that more. Now I don't need that. But yeah, people still look for that. All right, pretty nice features, I'd say, like 4G. That's actually pretty decent network. It will run a lot of great stuff. It's currently in the world the most widely used. It's pretty smooth, so for a network, pretty good one. Yeah, it has pretty nice connection here. 5.2 Bluetooth. I mean, pretty standard stuff here. Camera rear has a wide camera, so yeah, pretty good at 1080p video. That's good. Memory card. Yeah, pretty decent phone by the look of the specs. I'm probably gonna get some of these. Maybe get this in particular. I like the price. I don't think it's any big issue here. So pretty nice brand. Also, Xiaomi is really great brand. All right, let's look at other stuff. It's Xiaomi A5. Maybe get something with more RAM or something. Let's see. There's quite a few Xiaomi Redmi's with different colors, as you can see, but the price pretty much the same. Nokia Flip. I used to like flip phones, but I quickly outgrew them. I was really young then, and I like the fidget feature of that. But I actually like more the slide phones than flip phones. because you can fidget quite a lot. Like flip phones, you kind of become lazy to do the fidget with those. But with slide, you can easily like I had some Samsungs really, not sure how it's called, but it does have the slide feature. So that was my favorite fidget phone. All right, Tecno Camon, what the 664? All right, that kind of feels a little better, I'd say, for the specs, but it depends really. Not all 4-core processors are better than 3-core processors. Maybe it is, maybe not. All right, let's see the specs here. Android 13, as I said, there's a lot of phones, especially in the lower end, with Android 13. Most of them are like that, but we'll see. Like, I did check prices in phones like 2 months ago. Maybe they changed. I do see quite a lot of change, especially in the Xiaomi one. I didn't see that one offered and such a low price. But let's see for this one. I mean, octa-core processor. RAM is 4 GB, so that's not the processor. That's RAM, right? Sorry, 4 RAM and 64 GB of memory, right? Expandable. All right, nice. Dual SIM. It's all right. Also, wide camera, pretty nice for that. 1080p, good. I don't care for front camera, but there's one there. 4G, all right. That's pretty much all you look now for the phone. Screen, it doesn't really matter. Resolution 720. Ah, it's good. You can see stuff, right? I don't care anymore about how many pixels. Do you see pixels or not? Like, as long as it's not damaged like a phone I use, screen is not damaged, I'd say it's just as good as any other. I don't really care for resolution that much, but I guess it's a nice one. ZTE Blade. All right, $83 for this one. Android 14, not like 15 with a Xiaomi, but still pretty good. 720. Dual SIM. Doesn't have wide camera, but it's 1080, I guess, video. I like filming with the phone, with videos. A lot of videos on this channel I made with the phone. All right, I like a wide camera, honestly. A3, okay, Xiaomi A3 with 4 GB of RAM and also 128 GB of memory. Plus, does have Android 14 Go edition. Not a fan. Rear camera, no wide angle camera. Doesn't have even 4G. All right, this is not something I would look into. What the Vico 116? I did see it like for 50 euros or so, 5,000 dinars of dollars. I think a few weeks ago on ad, but I look into it. Doesn't look. It's like how you call that small version of Android. I'm not sure how it's called. Some kind of trim version, simple version of Android. I don't like those. TechnoSpark. Uh, this is Canon. See, does it have Android 13? Yeah, it's pretty good wide angle camera, I guess. That's the difference. I don't know. just looks like a normal phone, to be honest. The phone, I mean, all phones, I don't really care how their rear camera setup looks like. They're pretty much all the same now. Phones, you don't even look. You quickly just scroll. Just look at it. Take a quick peek glance on the phone. Just scroll back down. And don't even care how phones look like. That's the reality of today. That's how we live. Alright. So let's look at something else, like Xiaomi again. It's $90. A5. 4 gigabytes. Go edition. I don't like that. Android 15. Dual SIM. SD card. Yes. Doesn't have a wide angle camera. Pretty good battery. 5200. Fast charging. That's fine. 15 watts, whatever. I don't care about those stats though. Or stats, the features. Specs, whatever. Alright, Redmi A5. There are quite a few colors here. Let's see, is there any other, like Motorola is really great off. Let's see actually how it looks like. Android 14. I mean, I don't really mind like not having Android 15. Fine, 14's all Androids. It's very little difference. I doubt it's gonna in 3 years it's gonna be obsolete. Android 14 is gonna be there for a longer time. But yeah, it's not something important honestly. Especially when you use Google stuff. Those apps support like older Androids much more than other softwares do, other apps. So that's pretty good. I mean, the other features just pretty solid, I guess. The 464, I mean, I don't care as long as you can use up to terabyte to SD card. So that's pretty great. Rear camera with the wide lens, pretty good one, and 1080-30. That's good, right? I don't, for me at least, I don't feel many high-speed stuff, so definitely great stuff. Good battery. Yeah, I mean, I'd say this is one of the better phones I would consider. Does look pretty thin, and that's really nice. I don't like those bulky phones. Yeah, it's not thin as though. All right, I like the Motorola Moto Geo4. I don't really follow the naming anymore. They're all like just look at the number. Maybe like Geo 5 would be better than Geo 4 or something like that. But I don't even care. I stopped caring about that a long time ago. Just look at the price and just look at the basic features. Look maybe a video online to tell you to see how it actually feels like use just the open apps or stuff like that. But even these budget phones, they're pretty good, I'd say. Infinix Smart 9. Right. Wow. We're already half an hour on the video. Damn. Trying to do fast videos, or short videos. But, oh well. You can, the good thing about YouTube, you can skip if you don't like a part of the video. So that's up to you. But, and also, you can see the link there for Big Bang, where I'm looking at this. There's so many other websites where you can look at the prices and for especially if you're interested in this market, but for your local market, you're probably gonna find a website that has similar, specs and prices for devices. So, all right, this one has Android 14. Again, that's fine, whatever. Has a wide angle and HDR fine, I guess. I mean, it's pretty. I don't like that it's a brand like Infinix. I don't know that brand. Maybe it has some problems, but I'd say Motorola kind of, just because it's a big brand, gives a little more confidence when I go for it. But I guess all of these phones, if they have like similar specs, they're all sharing fine hardware from the same supplier or something like that. But anyway, I kind of like. I'm not into brands, but just that basic confidence when I'm getting something to have like a bigger brand. Realme, it's pretty good brand. Honestly, I did use, not have, I did use in my work Realme, but and it was great. Just last year, I think I changed to Samsung S21s or E, sure, something like that. A21s, something like. Yeah, A21s, Samsung Galaxy A21s. That's one I changed to. But still, pretty good phone. Nothing special about it, honestly, but Realme UI, I don't like that feature, but still. Based on Android 14, it has Google stuff, so whatever. I honestly wouldn't go for this phone for myself, just because I like just pure Androids. So for this one, I don't really care. Maybe it has good camera, but I don't really look at these. All right, let's see. Geo 5, as I said, maybe Geo 5 is better than Geo 4. Android 15, all right, that's a good one. He does have 720. Screen's fine. Dual SIM, 4 gigabytes, 128. It's fine. Micro SD, great. Wide camera, HDR flash, good, I guess. Whatever. Kind of network. 4G, it's fine. I guess this is the phone I would go for. Yeah, Moto G05. So it's either that or that Xiaomi, whatever it was. They look fine. Maybe Motorola is like 20 euros more, $20 more. It's Geo5, but I guess it has a little better stuff. All right, what else do we look at? Technospark 30C, but Android 14, whatever. What does it have? 720 screen. It's fine. Wide 50 megapixels. Um, I don't know. It's all look pretty much the same, to be honest. I like this kind of no-name brand like Technospark. I'm not familiar with it. Maybe it's like a big brand somewhere, but not here. I'm not familiar with it. There's quite a few colors, I guess. Some of these phones can be, or brands can be like a sub-brand to a bigger brand. Like Honor is probably, or Honor, whatever it's called, can be a sub-brand or like a top brand of the company, and then it has like smaller brands around it. I don't know. Don't follow that stuff. Android 15, all right. RAM 6 gigabytes, 28 memory. Is it expandable? Yes, it is. That's nice. Wide camera. 4G. What else do you want? Like good battery, I guess. One feature that might be useful to know is like the charging interface. If you have like USB-C and prefer that, this one has it. So I'd say most of these Androids will have USB-C. You might notice a few USB, micro USB. For me, I don't really care about that. I have both, so it's rare, but there's still some micro USB ports on phones. So anyway, let's look at something more interesting. Like all of these are probably gonna have X6C. They're all pretty much gonna have the same specs, but which one would we look at? Look at something else, like Redmi 14C. Okay. Android 14, whatever, 720. Pretty much all the specs, USB-C, OTG. I mean, OTG is not really something that I care for USB, that, you know, you can use keyboard or plug in some external hard drive or whatever. I don't care about it. You can use, with OTG, sometimes you can just plug in mouse and keyboard and use it as a, it's useful for like tablets or something that you can pretty much convert it to a laptop with that. But really, I don't care about that. I think people rarely care about that. All right, let's look at something more interesting. Let's see what else is there. Xiaomi, Infinix, Realme. It's something more like what's interesting out of these? Pretty much all the same. Voyage Blue. Oh, we saw that. Doesn't matter. Blackview. Blackview, what they do. What does have? Probably the same specs like Android 14, whatever. 4 gigs. Ooh, micro SD for 2 terabytes. All right. Back camera with wide, whatever. You can see they all have like pretty much the same USB-C, OTG, and that's about the price on the market here. You might find like some better RAM or something like that, but I don't think it actually matters. I think like it's a huge difference to have 6 gigabytes of RAM to 4. For apps, most of them that you would use would be happy with 4 gigabytes, so, or even 3 gigabytes. I don't think that will matter. All right, maybe we find, or actually, hold on. G32. Let's see if that's any better. G32, probably better than G05, right? As the name and the nomenclature goes. So it's but Android 12. Right? It's whatever. It's gonna be good for many years, but there's that. Rear camera doesn't has like, it probably has a wide angle of 8 megapixel. Probably is not like listed here, especially when it has like stuff like this. So yeah, nothing special. All right. Ooh, look at that. 8 gigabytes of RAM. Technospark. Android 14, whatever. 720 display. Rear camera with the wide angle, 1080p. Pretty much standard. All are the same. And it's good. I actually like where the low end, or this is now low end. €100, $100 is low end across the market, I guess. They're all pretty much the same, all trying to just look different, but I don't even look how they look, you know. I don't actually care. Maybe it's for color, not to be a pink one. I don't know. Although I would put color, and I don't really care about that either. I don't care. It's not gonna be something that's gonna decide that much. But most of them like either white, black, or some common color, like maybe blue. A lot of them blue or gray, or I don't know, charcoal is it called? That's a popular color. But yeah, there's very little difference. I don't know. Blade Vita, do they have better color, a better camera or something like that? Camera can be something that's pretty interesting one, but triple camera, probably wide angle. I don't know. Not much listed here. Android 13, whatever, I guess. All right. Let's look at some other stuff. What else can we see? Samsung Galaxy. There we go. Samsung is probably the king of Android, especially specs wise. I mean, not the specs wise, but the price wise and the popularity wise. They have phone for every budget, right? They don't care. They don't price like heavily as Apple does. They will cover every point of the market. Just send it, right? It's pretty good coverage. Look at that. For 130 euros or dollars US, you will find Samsung Galaxy phone with a 6 gigabytes of RAM. And let's see, Android 14. All right. 720 display. Expandable with micro SD. Single SIM. That's fine. I like it. Rear camera, probably with wide, yeah. Wide depth camera in close, filming close or something like that. It's fine. I don't see. I think camera is fine, especially like 1080 with 60 FPS. That kind of gives a little bit more to it. Good battery, 25 watts, better charging, I guess. What else? That's pretty much it. You don't care about anything else, right? Especially for most common buyer of these phones. That's pretty much all you look into. Just what kind of system is going to be. Maybe charging. They're all like USB-C anyway nowadays. So, and it's not the newest one. AOS 6. It's been a while. Like I'm not sure which year was released, but yeah. And you can get a new one for 130 euros. I wouldn't necessarily look for old phones in this price point. For old phones, I usually look at something like 20 to 50 euros, especially when I'm reselling. That kind of price point is pretty much where the standard is right now for phones that work, that have a operating system that will run apps, and it's not damaged much, right? So, especially when the new phone is on the 100 euros or dollars price point, then like the used phone market for running phone, working phone is going to be something around like 50 to maybe 70 euros. So if you find something from like 20 to 50, you might get something when you sell it further, right? It's kind of what I do. But I outsource much more phones. I don't get to one. I get in bulk many phones. So that's what I do. Not just phones. I do a lot of other stuff. But let's see other stuff. TCL. What's interesting in that? That's $130 price point we're at now. Android 14. A little better screen. 1080p now. An expandable dual SIM. Wide camera macro lens. 30 FPS 1080p. It's fine. HDR. Yeah, good charging. USB-C or 4G. Whatever. All phones just doesn't really matter to look at them at all. Maybe how much the camera sticks out. I like the thin profile. It's pretty thin. They're all pretty thin anyway. It's not going to be much of a difference. I doubt that would be something I would look into. Uh, hmm. This one comes with a charger. Alright. Alright, Xiaomi again. Android 14. 720. Nothing special on this one. I don't see anything. Maybe like that Samsung was the best on the in terms of specs in this price point. But whatever. I guess I don't see any major selling point on this one. If I would choose between Xiaomi and Samsung, I'm probably gonna go with Samsung, right? Motorola maybe has like also big brand aspect to it, so I'll consider it. But you know, between like Samsung and Motorola, I might look in a little more to decide which one to get because they will sell much easier. Blackview. Android 13. Not too much here. Maybe good battery, 6000. I don't think that matters much. I don't know. Blackview. Realme. I'm gonna skip that. Let's look at other stuff. I want to see something more interesting. See what there is. All right. ZTE Blade. I'm not sure we saw one of those. Infinix may be interesting one of this. All right. Blackview. It's kind of rugged phone, right? $150. Let's see what they have for rugged phone. Rugged phones are thick phones. I don't like that. I don't see the point of those because probably the point that's going to be the most vulnerable is screen, and that's what you care about the most. So I don't see the appeal of rugged phones, but they're there. They exist. Unfortunately, that actually impacts the what you call the price of the device. But there we go. Android 14, 720 display, dual SIM, expandable memory, wide angle camera, 1080-30, USB-C, battery, pretty good, I guess, charging. That's pretty good charging, whatever. So, yeah, I mean, just a rugged phone, nothing really special. Blackview. I heard about that brand. I never actually used it, so it's probably just another phone. Just has a pretty much the mask of it, the mask as a body. Usually get a mask for a phone anyway, so I don't see that as a selling point anyhow. All right, what is else interesting here? Some of them have like Motorola has like a more of G72, like bigger number phone. Let's see what they have, like Android 12, 1080 display, it's fine. Wide angle, 108 megapixel. All right, I never get that. Like, really, do you really care about that? I don't. What is there? That's a G72. Maybe this one, like Android A16. That's new. Nova means new. Android 14, 1080p, upgradable, I mean expandable. dual SIM, triple camera, so it does have pretty good camera, but it's 30 FPS. Alright, doesn't matter for me at least. So I don't know, it's like not that special. I don't know what's the selling point of this phone, but it's there. I kind of feel like A06 would be just as good, maybe better than this one. But 170 euros for this one over A06, that's like 100. Nah, I'm not gonna look into this one. That's a big difference in price. G24, whatever. TCL, let's see, what do they have? Android 14, A256, upgradable, expandable, camera, some wild resolution for no reason. Whatever that says, I don't care what it says, some field of view stuff, that's pretty much just a wide angle. But it's 1080, 30 FPS. That's nothing special, maybe 5G it has, but I'm not sold for that because here in Serbia, 4G is the king, and it's pretty good one. I don't see the point to spend, especially some premium for that, so. This is not the price point I would look into just because I understand the market, and phones like for around 100 euros are proven to be, with my experience for now quite a few years, to be just enough and where the market is. So other than that, like the highest top of the market, it exists. The mid-range phones, they are not that popular, honestly, for new phones. Maybe for used phones, especially when people import them. But a lot of mid-range phones, I think, are obsolete. I don't see what you get with those, but I don't understand people who go for those, honestly. Like this one, Osco has 5G as a selling point in the name. But for me, really, would that matter? Probably not. Dual SIM. It doesn't matter. Cameras 4K, I guess that kinda is great to have, but I mean 1080p, that's pretty good. But there's that. Oscar Tigel. G54. Motorola is one of my favorites, but sometimes just phones are not that great. Stabilization, it's nice feature, honestly, but only if you're on the move. But if you film inside, just stationary stuff, especially when camera is stationary, it doesn't really matter. 5G, 6000, pretty good. Honestly, it's kind of good phone. Probably upgradable software to latest, so that Android 13 doesn't really matter that much. Should we go like faster? I'm not really impressed with any of these. Like, what else can we find? Like, what's this Poco phone? Xiaomi, I guess. Just doesn't really matter. Android 11. Not not really a fan of those. They all look like the same egg from different chicken, right? But it is what it is. G84, right? That's kind of bigger number on G series. What's better? Like, I don't know, 1080 screen. No, 60 FPS, 1080, 5G. I'm not sold for that one, and I understand why people on this in the market don't look at this price point that much. Just you cannot sell this as a huge selling point. Maybe with the RAM, like 8 gigabytes, for people that look in that as primary search, like for Android phone. Next, that they will look for, of course, this camera and some kind of RAM, some specs that might be a little bit more important, especially if you're gaming or something like that. But I don't see this as a big selling point, honestly. Redmi Note. A lot of these Note phones have like a stylus or so, right? If I'm not mistaken. This one just looks like a regular, maybe bigger screen or so. 1080p. Camera 1080 60. Doesn't matter. Everything else doesn't matter. They're all the same, right? For 210 euros or dollars. That's two phones. Just think of the price. We're at double where we started, right? Looking at the phones. Even more. Like if you look at a Xiaomi, if you look at the start with 70 something dollars, $75. Now we get to triple the price. So with three of those, does it really matter? You can have like for like 6 years coverage with just changing every 2 years versus getting one phone. But I don't know. That's just my opinion. Everybody has their own opinion, right? For their opinion, especially if you're spending money for yourself on a device. Redmi Note, maybe the name in the note in the name gives a little more for the price, but just reach, I guess, in my opinion. Oscal again, Xiaomi A16. We look at that as well. Xiaomi Redmi 15. In special, honestly. Let's look at let's go faster. I'm not really interested in any of these. They're probably just the same. Another Blackview rugged phone. Only phone that I would actually look for are like Motorola and Samsung. But like Honor probably mimics a lot of these older Samsungs, but still, I'm not really into that. Edge phones, I had quite a few of those, especially in that like 2015 to 2020 years. I had like Samsung Edge phones. Not really that impressed. Probably wouldn't get them anymore. It's nothing special. 825 5G. Let's see. Is there anything special with this phone? Probably not, right? 720, Android 13, yada yada yada. We get 1080 30. I think A06 might be the best of those. 826 here. Is there any better difference? 1080 screen, triple camera, slow motion. Wow, 240 FPS. Okay, that might be a good, an interesting feature, but for 300 now, we're at 301 or $310 price point. I don't know, not something I will look into, but there we go, we get something interesting. 5G, quite a few 5G networks. But there we go. One phone. Definitely Samsung is the king of many ranges of these price ranges, just because they cover everything with, especially with A series, A lineup, Galaxy A series. But S series definitely something that you would look into with used phones. But for me, I don't like the screen. So even though it's a good screen in terms of resolution, but it's not that quality in terms of rigidity. It's not gonna hold well. It's gonna shatter. Whenever glass shatters, screen goes off. It's damaged pretty easily. All right, 826 in this point. Honor Magic. Let's look at those. I don't think they're anything special anyway. Screen 1224. A little better resolution, but whatever. Triple camera. $4K. Maybe this is the price point where we get like 4K videos on these. Honor 200 as outlet probably used. All right, what do we get? Pretty good screen, I'd say. Triple camera. Doesn't say videos, what kind of videos, but I'm guessing with this kind of resolution, it's gonna be like either 1080 with 60 or 4K even. 4K 30. Nothing really special, but there it is. I guess the selling point on that one is like 12 gigabytes of RAM. 836. Let's look at those. Probably spending too much time on this. We're over an hour. Come on, will it load? Maybe the site is on the load now. Although I doubt we're in the middle of the night. Alright, 400 euro or dollars price point. Dual SIM. $4K 30, slow motion 240 at HD, that's 720, but still, slow motion is an interesting gimmick. I mean, not a gimmick, that's actually a pretty fun thing, slow motion, especially if you're recording like traffic or something like that, birds maybe. So, pretty good stuff. Everything else doesn't matter as much, right? It's either like the starting points for higher, like the more expensive phones are, camera quality, the screen. I see a little better screen in terms of resolution, but I don't think that's that much of a selling point. It's either camera, maybe battery, maybe the I don't know, some kind of feature, RAM. I don't know, memory that is uh, RAM or internal, but still, I think camera is the biggest selling point if you look further into the price range. But let's go scroll quickly. Don't want to prolong this video. Just the idea was to quickly look at this anyway. But whenever I look phones, I spend a little more time. Xiaomi, Redmi Note, I guess in the name. Doesn't really matter anyway. Not getting any crazy with that. So 836 we saw. I don't know. It's just what should I look for? 12 gigabytes of RAM, whatever. 14 Pro. It's one of the more expensive phones, but what's the interesting part? Let's see the camera. 200 megapixel. Whatever. Does it have like beautification? What the hell? AI camera system. It doesn't have that fast camera with 240. I don't know. It's all gimmick stuff. A56 we get here. The thing about the A56 is it does have pretty good camera. Doesn't even have, doesn't say which Android, but still. You cannot sell me these phones, honestly. None of these, I really don't care. Asus Zenfone, Asus, whatever you pronounce that. And there we go, S24 FE. Those are phones that are pretty popular. S lineup, S24. We'll look in those. But first, Zenfone. Android 14 does have dual SIM, 16 gigabytes of RAM. I think special with the camera. Yeah, not a fan of it. Asus probably has like their own stuff in terms of for spec wise their lineup and all, but not. I don't really look in those phones. For me, it's either like Samsung, Motorola, maybe some of the Huawei, Xiaomi stuff. But other than that, I don't look much. S24 FE 8K. All right, 8K is an interesting selling point, but we're at 750 euros range. Just know that. Is it worth that much money? Maybe for some. Maybe for some. S24. What kind of camera does it have? 8K. K30. 4K60. Okay, this camera is pretty interesting. 1080p 240. 1080p 960. Okay, I'd say this one is pretty interesting. S24. That's a lot of money. 700 euros. That's a lot of money. Do I really care about that? No, not really. Those specs, even for me at least, they're pretty gimmicky. But next we get like Apple, just for good measure, to look into. What should we look into? Like, what kind of camera does it have? Like 4K 60. All right, that's pretty good. 1080p 240. All right, interesting. What else do we care here? One eSIM, dual SIM, USB-C. I don't know. Not a fan of those, honestly. Is there any other phone that has like a what's the deal with Realme in this price point? How can they reach that with what? I would always look at the camera. That's probably the selling point. But what else? 200 or 512 gigabytes. That's not going to be a selling point. Come on. I don't know. Camera. Don't see anything crazy. Telephoto. Whatever it is. Razer. You just cannot convince me these phones are some crazy good stuff. I want to see what's the most expensive ones. Let's quickly go through this. Realme camera. Whatever, whatever. So, Alright, we get this flip phones, whatever that gimmick is. Do they have some extra feature? I doubt it. 729.60. Alright, that's Samsung's pretty much selling point for these high ends. For good reason. I think cameras are pretty expensive as they alone, right? So having good cameras is a good point, especially for gimmicky phone like that. That can be another selling point, especially if it's people accept it as a good selling point. So iPhone 16 Plus, what they do have. From the product, whatever, screen, whatever. 1290. Thermal memory, 128. No expansion option. What? Stabilization. 4K 60, 1080p 240. Ah, whatever. Dolby Vision. I don't know. Not sold for these kind of phones. Guess we get to flip phones. Flip phone 30, just the gimmick stuff. S25. $1,750 for a phone. Can you believe that? This world is a crazy place. Cannot justify myself to get anywhere near that price for any purchase. Alright, the last page. What is at the top? What's the most fold? What's the thing about folds? Just flip phone that opens on the other side, right? Screen, whatever. Nothing really special about the camera. Maybe it has like that faster camera, but for that price point, like $2,700 for a phone. Come on, really? The world is a crazy place. I mean, for Samsung, that's a good thing, right? If they sell those, but for average consumer, what are you actually getting with that? All right, that was my review of the prices. There's quite a lot of phones, but for me, it's either the lowest end, those $100 new phones, or maybe some mid-range to high-end phones up to 200 euros used. I don't look at other stuff, so I cannot justify myself to look into those higher priced phones at all. Alright, that's it for this video. I hope you leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I will leave a link to my favorite phone out of these, so you can look it up. Whatever I pick, look it up in the description. And yeah, that's all. Bye bye. See you next time.